Hello, this is PlayStation Pete, also known as Berserker Boy, who writes for Total Gaming Addicts. This is my review of Blue Reflection Second Light. The developer is Gust, the publisher is Koei Tecmo. The release date was on the 9th of November 2021. It's a JRPG and it's available on the PS4, Switch and Windows PC. This was reviewed on the PS5 via backwards compatibility. Anyway, Blue Reflection Second Light. If ever a game developer was deserving of an award for its consistency in producing quality games, then Gust would be near the top of the list. Still basking in the success of the Atelier Ryza series, and in between working on the recently announced Atelier Sophie 2, Gust has somehow found the time to sandwich in yet another title. Blue Reflection's Second Light holds its own amongst this heavyweight company. However, it does show some cracks that the more polished games in Gust's library don't have. For new players starting with Blue Reflection Second Light, you will be welcomed by some of the best in-game tutorials I've experienced in the genre. Clear and simple instructions are delivered in a timely manner, so you are not overwhelmed with the systems all at once. For me, it is the new benchmark of how to incorporate tutorials into a game. Although I haven't played the first critically acclaimed Blue Reflection game, I didn't feel like Blue Reflection's Second Light left me wondering what I had missed. It's very easy to start without any prior knowledge of the series. However, the setup of the premise of the game, with the whys and the wherefores, did have me scratching my head of what was going on at times. You start as one of 4 high school girls, Ao, who finds themselves alone in a school, surrounded by water, with no memory of how they got there or of the world they have come from. The only areas to adventure are called Heartscapes. During the exploration of these Heartscape lands, girls find memory fragments that fill in the blanks for one of them that recalls memories of what they did in the real world. These memories, however, all have themes such as fear or regret, and it is the emotions of the situation that they faced that created the Heartscape land in the first place. Defeat the real world fear and they will conquer the Heartscape. One thing the game cannot be accused of is a boring narrative or story, as alongside some excellent voice acting, the pull of the game is finding out about each girl, what makes them tick, to then see them grow and become more confident when they face the fear they are trying to defeat. It's a similar structure seen in Persona, where the players had to change the heart of the target, but here in Blue Reflection's Second Light, the final key will be to defeat a boss rather than find a treasure. What makes its journey so pleasing is that the longer you spend with each character, the more the differences in their personalities shine through. Yuki was by far the funniest, Rina very serious, and the rest were somewhere in between, sharing typical JRPG character tropes. The nuances of the individual characteristics of each girl are highlighted and explored even further by the social aspects of the game. The girls each find their own roles in the world while they try to understand and escape it, and to help them achieve this, you can rank up with them in various ways. They can request you do side missions for them, or you can talk to them via texting, or even go on dates with them. Each action unlocks new information about the girls and increases your bond with them, which has the practical advantage of giving you talent points, or TP points, to then use to upgrade each character. Completing main missions will also give you talent points to spend, but it was never a chore to spend more time with each girl in the side quests and dates. In fact, these actions put so much more flesh onto the story and a lot of talent points, it made them all the more worthwhile. Talent points were very key and varied. Some added a simple amount of health points, whereas others boosted a character's speed, defense, or ability to unlock extra slots for the item buffs to be added. It was a pleasant headache deliberating over which upgrade to spend the precious talent points on, as each talent felt significant to acquire. As you play the game, you then learn to focus upgrades on certain characters. The crux of the gameplay comes from exploring each dungeon, Heartscape, to find memory fragments before defeating a final boss and then moving on to someone else's Heartscape. Each dungeon is filled with demons to defeat and items to find. The items can be used to craft consumables ranging from stat buffs to simple health items. The crafting system operates like a very simple, slimmed down version of that found in an Atelier game. Other items to craft include axes or materials like wood to build new areas within the school. When these new areas are built, they give the whole team permanent stat increases, so the more things you build around the school, the stronger the team becomes. The real-time turn-based battle system has obviously had a lot of effort put into it. Within the HUD is a timeline of your characters moving right to reach targets on the line, or the enemy moving left to invoke their attacks. The beauty of the system is that for the girls there are 5 points along the line. When they reach the second point, for example, they can then use 2 consecutive attacks in one go. When they reach the third point, they can use 3, and so on. Additionally, when reaching the third point, they transform into their powerful version, which increases their attack and defense strength. It's a frightfully tense system, as you are constantly having to weigh up on the fly whether to do a single attack now or just wait a little bit longer for the double attack, but doing so will allow the enemy time to get their hit in. The most enjoyable tactic for me was allowing one of my team enough time to get as far along the scale as quickly as possible, while the other two just put in single hits. The attacks the girls use also have elemental and action buffs that the enemies are either weak, normal, or resistant to, which adds an extra layer of tactics to the battles. If the enemy is building up for a powerful attack, using one of the character's special abilities at just the right moment deflects a lot of the power of the incoming attack, but most importantly ensures that the combo meter you've been building doesn't reset. As we all know, the longer the combo, the more powerful the hits become. Another layer that is added later is that as more girls join the party, they can be used as support members by either dishing out items or stat buffs to the active team. Farther into the game, there are occasions where you can unlock one-on-one standoff battles midway through a fight. This only applies to tougher enemies and locks one of your team into a duel. This is nothing more than a slimmed down version of the main battle system. You again have a timeline, but all the actions are basic and have to be timed perfectly to work. It's a little too fast and frenetic, but get it right and you will be rewarded by dealing a huge amount of damage to the enemy. The only issue with combat is that you have to constantly look at the battle timeline and nothing else, as things do move very fast. This means you don't get to enjoy what the characters are doing on the screen during battle, with the over-the-top animations and hits. A lot of the interesting animations were lost to me simply because even though I knew one of my characters was landing a hit, I was already focusing on the timeline for my next action, so my eyes were always diverted down and away. For a game that is trying to find a halfway house between real-time fighting and turn-based action, this is the drawback you will get. It was only by watching back some video of what I had done that I noticed some of the nuances of the game I had missed before, as I was staring at nothing else than the timeline during combat. During the dungeon exploration, there is some stealth gameplay, although I use the word stealth in the most liberal of terms. Pressing the circle button darkens the screen and shows the enemy's area of attention in red. This would allow you to find ways past enemies if you don't want to fight them, and indeed there are even stealth missions where being spotted results in failure. This aspect of the game, although helpful if you are low on supplies nearing the end of a dungeon, just want to avoid fighting for a short time, is not going to be threatening Agent 47 anytime soon. Like a lot of the game, it was all a little bit clunky and stiff, but serviceable and useful. Then we get on to the mixed bag that is the graphical prowess. This is a Gus game, and as usual the artwork is outstanding. Character models are beautiful to look at, and in reviewing this game I took a ridiculous amount of screenshots to capture a moment I thought looked awesome. There is even a photo mode which is fun and simple to use. When you pause the game and take pictures, the world looks gorgeous. It's just that when things start moving again, it feels more like the engine is running from a higher end PS3 game than a PS4 one, especially during the flashy combat moves. Even with world environments that aren't particularly filled with a lot of detail, the game engine really seems to struggle with keeping the visuals smooth, or there just wasn't enough attention given to the animations, with some moves over in what felt like 3 or 4 frames. Trying to capture the moment of landing a scythe blow to an enemy's head took a lot of toing and froing with the video, as the movements of the scythe were so stuttery. When the girls are gently walking around the world outside of combat, their movements are very stiff, but the clothes do at least move realistically with them. Despite this, the artwork is stunning. The character models are interesting and the world vibrant and varied, although the developers do seem to have a perpetual need to oversaturate the brightness of the sun. This causes the game to occasionally look blurry, as if you are looking into the sun itself. Finally, the audio of the game is excellent. The voice acting, even for someone who doesn't understand Japanese, really conveys the feeling and emotions of the girls we're going through. For a game based around their internal emotional struggles, it was a key aspect they had to get right, but they nailed it. For example, the character Kokoro begins her Heartscape journey as a timid girl, but by the end, as can be heard in the tone of her voice, she has quite clearly changed to become more confident. Then there were times she was upset, which again you could feel in the weight of her performance. The action noises during battles are also excellent, but not in a meaty weapons meets flesh kind of way. Keeping with the atmosphere of a Magical Girls experience, they have kept the effects light and, dare I say, sparkly. Slay demons with a sprinkle of fairy dust, then a wisp of colour, not a thunk and a splat of blood on the surface. The soundtrack of Blue Reflection Second Light is also superb. Many composed on a grand piano or other keyboards. I'd love them to make an in-game music CD available to purchase. They're not tunes to get the blood pumping, but they most certainly are something you could relax, fall asleep or study with. In summary, Blue Reflection Second Light may not offer anything new to the JRPG genre that would warrant top marks, but everything it does is done very well. The story is interesting and full of great performances and characters. The combat systems are thoughtful and tactical, allowing the player to experiment and learn on the job. And beautiful music accompanies the gorgeous artwork. If only more attention were paid to the animations, this could have been superb. As it is, it's still a really interesting game. Even though it uses aspects found in other games, it puts them together in a way that makes Blue Reflection Second Light feel unique. It's a magical journey befitting a magical game from a magical developer. Total Gaming Addicts give this game an 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed this, and we shall hopefully see you again soon.